I'm always super excited to hear about people that have never tried cannabis and heard about what I do and then started trying, say, like cannabis beverages, which are a great introduction to the industry. And you can see in real time the destigmatization happening. You hear about my in-laws, they'll come by my house. And when I first started in this industry, a lot of my relatives were interesting choice, Mark. And now my mother-in-law will come knock on my door and ask, do you have any cannabis beverages in your refrigerator? I think having the legitimacy of the CPA profession intertwined with the cannabis industry and all of the different ancillary businesses that help the cannabis industry succeed is hugely important. And it's an exciting time to be working in this space.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cannabis Accounting Podcast. Today, I have with me my friend, Moore Waller, the Director of Client Accounting Services at Saks in their cannabis industry practice. Mark, for those who don't know you, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody? My name is Moore Waller. Like Raymond said, I'm a director in the cannabis practice at Saks Advisory Group. We have a cannabis-specific practice on the client accounting services side. I just joined Saks Advisory Group back in January of this year. Prior to that, my business partner, Betsy Moore, and I ran a CPA firm in Minnesota for 5 years called Moore Waller CPAs. We effectively merged into Saks. So a continuation of that firm that we started 5 years ago, really focused on the cannabis space. Really excited to join Saks. We've been having an amazing time meeting our new colleagues, getting to know how things operate as a part of a larger firm, and really just continuing the work on the cannabis side that we've been doing for a long time. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Raymond, and looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, no, me too. And you just had me thinking too of when we first met. It was probably like 4 years ago. It has been a while.
Yeah.
Like it was like an audit or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's right.
It's awesome kind of how it's come full circle. Thinking about kind of your background, I know you were with a little bit of non-for-profits in your CPA career, but just regardless, what was your thought process of transitioning from being a professional CPA into becoming an independent business owner and going on your own? What kind of spurred that decision? And I know it takes a lot of bravery. It's a little bit of a nervous, it's a tough decision, especially with a young family like you had, but what made you want to be brave enough to take the leap?
For sure. I started my career 20 years ago, graduated from college at the University of Minnesota, and went straight from University of Minnesota Business School into a public accounting firm. I actually started my career then it was called Larson Allen, now it's called Clifton Larson Allen, and then also moved over to RSM. So I spent the first about 5 years of my career in public accounting. Straight out of college, my college career at the University of Minnesota, Carlson School of Management is a great business school. And when I started business school, accounting was not on my mind. It was not even a possibility. It wasn't something I was thinking about at all. But I really enjoyed the classwork. I found myself surprised at how much I enjoyed the classes and got to know what an accounting career is really at that time. And really understanding it's not just debits and credits. You get to know how a business works, a business operates. I had some really great teachers at the U of M. So that really made, also when I was at the U, I had an internship at a smaller accounting firm that was about 20 people or so, but that was really eye-opening for me. That was a thing that paved the way for me to say, I really actually love public accounting. Worked in the public accounting space for about 5 years. Got to a point, my wife and I were like ready to start a family, and knowing the traditional accounting path is pretty hard on young families. But I also, in that time, I was focusing a niche really in the accounting space in the nonprofit sector. So I made a move from public accounting to the nonprofit sector, where I ended up spending the next 10 years of my career as a controller, starting at a smaller nonprofit, working in the childcare industry, pivoted to working at Twin Cities United Way for a couple of years. And then for about 5 years, I was a controller at YWC Minneapolis, which is a larger based nonprofit. And so that experience was really eye-opening for me to kind of understand how accounting departments internally work. So I got that really strong basis and understanding of the ins and outs of how accounting departments work. But that seed that was planted back in college, back right out of my career, of the public accounting piece, was always something I wanted to return to at some point. So when COVID hit, everything basically blew up. Everything that you knew was real You just realize there are not these boundaries really. You can decide your own path. And especially in accounting, literally, we were able to shift our job from being in an office to working remotely. Nothing really changed. So that was really an eye-opening experience. And so my friend Betsy, who eventually became my business partner, I reached out to her when COVID hit, and was two things I wanted to talk to her about: starting my own firm, and then secondly, I wanted to talk to her about Dope CFO, which we both were interested in learning about. So we decided, let's join Dope CFO together. She had her own firm already. She's already been doing on this journey for about 5 years. And through that conversion, we decided, why don't we start a firm together and work in this cannabis space? So that was really the birth of Moore Waller CPAs. We started officially in 2021, and through networking, meeting people, doing kind of everything that the program recommends as far as going out and talking to people and being involved in the cannabis industry. That really was the key, because you can do accounting as much as you want, but you'd be surprised. And the thing that I've learned the most in that journey from where we are now from where we started to where we are now, is literally anybody in the cannabis industry, it never hurts to talk to them and find out what they're doing. You learn so much about them, you learn so much about yourself, and you learn about what makes it good for clients, what makes a good client service provider, essentially. Yeah, that's how we got started. And then this past September, Allison Kirschhofer, who's the director of cannabis at Saks Advisory Group, we actually met up with her at an event in Minnesota. And we had already had this relationship with her from years of running our own firm. We got to talking to her first, catching up, seeing how things are going. And the conversation became very naturally geared toward, how can we work together? And that's really like how the seeds were planted for Moore Waller to join Saks Advisory Group. So we've been with Saks through Q1 2026 so far, and it's been fantastic. It's been even
First quarter.
First quarter is done. Yeah, so it's been great. It's been great.
Nice. No, that is a very natural progression. I like the idea. When you started Moore Waller CPA, were you more focused on the audit side, the tax side, the client accounting service? Just because you had such a good background. I did traditional assurance and tax work. Then I did actual running accounting and finance teams internally, which would be the CAS piece. So I guess with Moore Waller, when you launched it, what was like your business thesis or kind of service you provide?
We really started as a client accounting services as our base, and really focused on that client relationship piece. And especially what Betsy and I really focused on was being approachable and being advisors that our clients could feel like, hey, I can give them a call and they'll help me, but they'll also make me feel supported and heard, and just enjoy. We always want to be able to enjoy our job. So we want to make it feel like our clients also enjoy coming to us when they need help. So all of those things were our key components. We went through a few different ways of doing taxes. Like I said, I started my career doing taxes. I had, between starting my career and starting Moore Waller, enough people asked me to help for taxes that eventually I don't even remember applying for it, but I got a PTIN number. You accrue those things over time as an accountant. And so I did eventually act as a signer for some of our clients' tax returns. But I think really starting with that CAS piece, that's the big missing link to me that is a big driver for people. And then as much as I don't mind signing returns, I'm much happier to have a tax team at Saks that's all they do. They sign tax returns, they work on taxes. And so that's been a great transition to kind of join the team that has that built-in tax infrastructure.
No, and I agree with you. It's like the CAS is the starting point, because like the accounting, daily accounting for the business transactions is how we build weekly reports. Is weekly reports how we build monthly reports. If you file a taxes, it's usually you got to look at a financial report in order to do the tax calculation. So it's can't do taxes without financial reports, can't have financial reports without a good accounting. So no, that is the starting point. Very interesting. Because I agree too. It was funny. Like it was a CPA. You just are so used to assurance and tax work as you're like a young kid in college, and then you're like getting started at the CPA firms. You're like, yeah, that's what we do, assurance and tax. Like,
Right.
small cast team that, like, at least when I was around, or at least my
Yeah.
firm, like, they did it a little bit, but it was not our tip of the spear. The tip of the spear was assurance
It's
and tax work. And we were able to
absolutely.
usually bundle them together where it's like, hey, you need an audit anyways for the bank or your board.
Yeah,
You got to file taxes so you don't go to jail. Let's just bundle them together.
exactly.
But I remember being an auditor, and it was like such a joke where it's like the financial statements were always a mess. They were never GAAP compliant. And we would
Yeah.
come in every year and make the same journal entries. There was the same
Yeah.
issues. And I was like, the business owners don't even care. They run their business without even the financial statement. Like, we come in and we're like, this isn't right. We need to make this GAAP compliant. And I'm like, so I very quickly learned, I'm like, okay, there's some more to this. So when I started first joining CPAs, let's get the client accounting service and actually, like, be involved. So then it just makes
Yeah.
taxes easier too. I think anybody's trying to clean up books for taxes.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Let's nerd out a little bit on the cannabis industry then. So then I get why you started your business, and I like the cast focus. So then you could apply this. You're a smart man. Betsy's a smart woman. You can serve any industry, and there's other startup industries out there. So why did you focus on the cannabis industry? And then you're from Minnesota. I know when you started serving it, similar to Wisconsin, not a medical program, not an adult use program. So I guess what were your thoughts on the industry, and then what made you focus on that industry despite the stigmas?
Yeah, two things. One is just a desire for the industry to do well and the knowledge that there's a huge need. So I've always felt like in my career, I've always wanted to make choices that are, a little more unconventional. And when I started my career working in the nonprofit industry, I wanted to work in an industry where I felt like my work could have an impact beyond just making money. And so I felt when I learned more about what the cannabis industry really needed, I felt that same calling whereby cannabis business owners are trying to start legal cannabis businesses. Oftentimes, business owners are coming from a black market and trying to bring their black market business into the legal industry. And in doing that, provide generational income and really help provide true businesses that can last for generations. So all of that was really exciting to me. And again, it was a combination of need and the industry itself. And then since I've joined the cannabis industry, I personally have learned a lot more about the plant myself, how much it can help people. I've had my own experiences with the plant myself that have been super positive, super as a tool for growth. It's been phenomenal. So I've just been really excited. And basically, the more I get into the industry, despite its business challenges, the more I feel indebted to it and feel grateful that I'm a part of it. And now at this point, I don't see any way. I'm definitely going to be riding this thing out for the long haul.
Man, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's like associated to the internet, where it's the same way where these companies didn't exist, then the internet happened, and then e-commerce is a thing, software is a thing, social media is a thing. These did not exist in the 90s. Trust me, I can assure you, kids.
Exactly.
Same with cannabis, where it's like these companies didn't exist, and then a state or federal legalization happens and raise tens of millions of dollars to secure licenses, real estate, build facilities, build product manufacturing equipment, literally take product to market that a human buys. That all happened in 2 to 3 years. So it's an amazing thing that's like, I kind of stick to the phrase of like, we're only going to build the cannabis industry for the first time once. And we haven't been doing it. So yeah, as like a CPA, like having been exposed to other industries, like I'm sure similar to myself, like, that the grass isn't always green around the other side. Like every industry has issues. Every industry has cash flow issues, capital issues, ownership issues. The investors are mad at the operators. The employees are mad at the operators. Even in non-for-profit, it's
100%.
its own unique issues. That's why I like this industry.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about, so we'll circle back to the CPA, but let's stay on the cannabis industry because it is growing. So I guess you started years ago with some of these early operators. So I guess what were some lessons that you learned early on serving cannabis clients that we still use today to save time and money that you kind of learned early on that has changed over the years?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the big picture things you see all the time from cannabis operators are 280E and tax compliance. And those are all, I'm not saying they're not important, but the things that are the most challenging for business owners, honestly, are cash flow and making sure that their cash flow is strong. That the thing that has been the number one issue for businesses that haven't succeeded or have had to close their doors that we've worked with is because they run out of cash. And so that I feel like I like to peel back. There's a lot of complexity, obviously, in the industry, but it can be very simple if you focus on the main things first and budgeting, cash flow planning, making sure that your bank accounts are safe from being closed, which is a huge risk for business owners. It's those things that you don't think of as major issues that can become major if you don't watch them closely. And those are the things I see 90 out of 100 times. I feel like that's the thing that can trip businesses up more than thinking about how much money can they save on 280E. It doesn't matter if you save money on 280E if you're not in business. You got to start there.
Yeah, no, 100%. And not to oversimplify things, because we know it's tough out there, but I could not agree with you more. We pay taxes on profits. And so it's at the end of the day, yes, there can be quote unquote phantom profit, depending on how you do the accounting, but most companies that are in trouble are just fundamentally not cash flow positive, even operationally, even before taxes. And that's a whole nother conversation of how we even got to that point of like, how can we run non-cash flow positive for so long? Investors.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a real thing where, cash flows, I would say, are more important than tax strategy right now. It's all important and it all needs to work together. But especially on the client accounting side, it's keeping them cash flow positive. It shouldn't be such a weekly, monthly, quarterly battle, but man, sometimes it feels like it.
Definitely.
No, really interesting. I guess just thinking through the Minnesota, because it was one of those states that just recently went through that transition of nothing to medical to adult use. And now there's licenses are opening up. Every market, it takes a while, and we learned some lessons, good or bad, of how we should have rolled it out. But I guess what could Minnesota show other states or teach other states, good or bad, about opening up their adult use program? How has the rollout of the licenses for the adult use program been going from your perspective?
Yeah, I think most people would say it's been slow in Minnesota. I like Minnesota. I like that though. Yeah, it's been slower than anybody has wanted, to be honest. The bill that passed adult use recreational cannabis in the state it passed in August of 2023. And we're in April 2026. We're really just now seeing stores open. It's a trickle. It's the stores that are open. It's awesome. They're open. I've been to, trying to think, just this week, I've been to 3 different dispensaries and I bought products at every single one just because I'm excited to do it. But the supply is still low and there's only a couple of suppliers ready to go. So I think the lesson to me is for business owners, because there's so much business owners, there's so much that's out of their hands. You can't really control how quick the state is going to roll out. I saw this when we were watching the Vermont market start in 2022. It always takes longer than you think it's going to. And it's always going to there's always going to be roadblocks. Every state has them. But I see a lot of people complaining about Minnesota's rollout being slow, and it has been slow. It's definitely been slower than other states, but it's not like any state has ever been able to do this whole thing with zero issues. I think that the thing for me is, as a business owner or as an accountant, just be patient. Just know there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are going to be perfect. The government is, I do think too, the Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management, they're not bad people. They're good people. They want the best things for the business owners. There's a lot of different factors that they're looking at and that everyone's looking at. Ultimately, I think just be patient. It'll come, and coming in Minnesota, I think by the time this summer comes around, you're going to be able to stop at a lot of different dispensaries, buy a lot of different flower, a lot of different pre-rolls, and a lot of different products.
Nice. No, and that does make sense of just trying to get the bottleneck is getting enough product to meet the store's demand and then getting the stores open, because it's no state gets it right. I remember in New York, it was the opposite, where there's a good
Yeah.
amount of products made, but they didn't have enough retail doors open.
Please.
Then the
Exactly.
product
Yeah.
all went bad. It got to,
Yeah.
get disposed of at less than ideal prices. And so just this,
Yeah.
I say 2 to 3 years. Once they legalize adult use, in my
Yeah.
experience, just like them, it's about 2 to 3 years before material sales kick in because some
Yeah.
group's going to sue this group. Then it's going to get
Exactly.
held up. Then there's going to
Yeah.
be a reissuing.
Yeah.
And then they might have to go refinance it again because however they
Yep.
got the original financing, it's a bit of a mess. But like,
Yeah.
if you expect that going into it, then
Yeah.
you kind of know, like, all right, we just got to get through the rigmarole of 2 to 3 years.
Exactly. And I think the people that that have been in this industry for a while that are relying on experts that have been planning for this for a long time, the ones that are really able to be flexible and able to pivot when they need to, I think are the ones that are going to be able to succeed, because you might, in 2023, you might have envisioned a completely different business than what it's actually going to look like in 2026. And so I think if you can remain flexible and remain open to change and open to building those relationships with people that might be able to help you, it's going to work out a lot better for you.
No, I agree. Minnesota was, I mean, it's just so close to home, but I experienced that where there was almost no teams winning licenses that were purely homegrown and home
Yes.
funded. Even if they were
Yes.
hometown fund, they had somebody on their team that was like, has already done this in another market and had some frame of reference, not even listed as a consultant, but pretty heavily involved in the equity ownership team. So no, I agree. You need them on the operations side, you need them on the finance side, you need them on the road. Because your competition does have them on the team.
Exactly.
It's an interesting kind of dynamic. Switching gears a little bit back to the CPA industry, because I know you're a CPA, I'm a CPA.
Yeah.
As CPAs do, we like to nerd out on the industry and talk shop.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of fun the last 2 years learning about the whole industry within the industry. I didn't realize the CPA was an industry. I thought it was just a license I got to do my job. And now I realize
Exactly.
CPA conferences, CPA groups.
Yes.
Which is awesome because we need more people to talk to. Because I feel like you get in your echo chamber, you work at your CPA firm, so you know your other people at your firm, and then maybe the people in your graduating class. But like, I didn't know about communities of CPAs, and then their jokes are so funny because we all get in each other's jokes.
It's true.
Having been at a CPA firm a decade ago, and now just getting back into involved in one with Sachs Advisors, just I guess, how would you say from your perspective, how's the CPA industry changing over time? What needed to change and what's driving that change in the CPA industry?
Yeah, it's really cool to be really truly in it 20 years after I started my career, and as a staff accountant, now at the level of being director, you can draw on those old experiences, but I think things have changed so much in 20 years, especially on the technology side. I think you're right, though. That's a really good point about the communities. There easily could have been a lot of communities 20 years ago, but they certainly weren't online the way they are now. I've been able to, Dope CFO is a community that I've been a member of, but there's other networking communities that are in cannabis industry that I've had the opportunity to be part of, monthly Zoom networking calls that you get to know a lot of people, not just other CPAs, but other kind of ancillary business providers that way. So there's those types of communities. Nowadays there's tons of accounting podcasts. So I'm a big fan of the Accounting Today podcasts. Accounting Today is the kind of national accounting firm publication. They have a fantastic podcast that's informative and interesting to listen to. Last year, as the owner of Moore Waller, I went to the firm growth forum that Accounting Today put on. That was in San Diego. It was an awesome location. I got to meet a lot of other accountants in the space and other friends that now I can reach out to that know what's happening in the accounting industry. So that part's been really fun. Betsy and I, this past summer, we went to a couple webinars put on by some of the software vendors that have other podcasters. If Jason on Firms, he does a really fun podcast about the accounting industry. So I would say that the biggest change to me, and what's really cool about the CPA industry, is you can find your people anywhere through the internet, and people are thinking about the same things that you are. So especially if you're a business owner, if you're a firm owner running your own firm, you have to have that, and you have to be able to find those people. But that's the piece that's been honestly the most rewarding for me as this journey has gone on, is those relationships that I built.
No, that's so fair. I went to AI CPA Engage, I think is their
Yeah.
annual event for the first time. And dude, blew my mind. I was like, man,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Especially like
Yeah.
you think it's the big four, the big eight, and like
Yeah.
maybe you know who your competitors are in your region if you're in a more region, but like there is
Yeah.
just hundreds of CPA firms that you just
are.
never heard of that are like 10 to 100 people and
Yeah.
2 to 100 people. No, it's really
Exactly.
interesting. And being able to find your community too. There's a ton of young CPAs that are tech forward and trying to
Yes.
disrupt this old business model of tales of
Yes.
the crypt,
Using
ancient
AI.
wonders at the top.
Yeah.
Knowing
Yeah.
taxes and assurance, they can't even open a PDF, but yet they're just reaping all the benefits of all of our hard work. And it's okay. CPAs are very quickly bowing out of the traditional partner track, and it's let me go do something myself, figure it out. And then even then, if you come back, you're like, I come back with some worldly knowledge and context. No, the community
Definitely.
side is cool. And then the tech side for sure. It's of course AI is a hot button topic. It's in the news, and what can it do? Can it actually not do? And it's all just hype. Because
Yes.
there has been straight up lawsuits.
Yeah.
This is all AI tech driven. You don't even need
Yeah.
to worry about a human, and it's almost all humans, but it's
Mhm.
still changing drastically. I'm old enough to remember one of my first jobs. Maybe I was just a terrible person or hired. They had me scanning in old physical tax returns that were physical tax returns and
Yes.
digitizing them into our cloud-based system.
Yep.
Those days are just so long gone. And
It's true. Yeah.
yeah, so it's been very interesting. I guess just while I have you here on the tech side, how have you guys been answering the question about AI and just software solution integration? Where are you seeing AI have the most impact in accounting and CPA business?
I think, and this is true from Moore Waller into Saks, all of the tech tools are interesting, helpful, but none of them really, to me, it's going to take a really long time to fully replace a human. And even if, let's say, an AI tool got to the point where it could fully automate everything about client accounting services, there's still a human element that you need to have in the loop, especially as CPAs. Our licenses are not, I don't foresee the boards of accountancy giving up the ability to license people to be the CPA. That's not going to happen anytime. But I think you have to adapt and use those tools the best way you can. I've certainly seen a lot of, I think when you first start playing with AI tools, I experienced this the first year or so, you get stars in your eyes where you're like, oh my gosh, this does everything. This can do everything. What can't it do? Exactly. And
life that's in.
yeah, exactly. Reality sets in, and you kind of realize it can get you from point A to point B, but it's not going to get you the whole way. So and that's Sax's stance on IT in general. We have an IT department that we work with that helps facilitate the tech tools that we use, but also make sure that we're working safely. Because the flip side of all of the tech tools is cybersecurity, and that is, to me, that's extremely important. It's much more important for me to say that we are using technology in a way that is secure for our clients than it is to be using the best tech tools. I think if you go one direction too far of I'm going to use all the tech tools, security be damned, you're gonna run into trouble at some point. So that you can't run away with it too far. And Saks has its own internal tool that has AI, but it's like a ChatGPT style app that works for Saks because it works within that scope of cybersecurity. So I think the key is really finding a balance.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And like, I almost get frustrated with the amount of times people want to talk about another AI tool or AI prompt. And again, I'm even on the team AI. I use it every day.
100%. Yeah.
And it's like, it'll, to your point, it'll accelerate certain aspects of what we do, and it'll definitely save time. And I kind of think of it as the nerd in me, the Mario Kart gamer. It's like little boosters that you can hit. You're finding more and more of these little boosters where it can help me with closing the books, maybe writing up an AJE memo and like, where's this, citing it and structuring it nicely, but it doesn't do everything. It just accelerates little pieces along the way. And over the years, that'll become more and more, but No,
Yeah.
I'm there with you. I still think, I would do that same exact thing where I'm like, what can it do? And that's like, trying to really do a full process. Like, it actually doesn't really do that much to the back.
But everybody wants, you can package things as much as you want into little buckets, but ultimately every client is going to want things a little bit differently. So that you can't automate that. You have to know what the client wants. Do they want a certain way? Do they want to get an email, or do they want to get a call, or do they want a text? Those are the things that you can't automate those things. The funny thing is, you hear so much now about email marketing, and I guess getting to prospects or clients through email lists. We're actually trying to go a little bit the opposite way at Saks, where we're trying to call people more. We're actually trying to get on the phone and talk to people live. It's been amazing how much faster your job can get if you get somebody on the phone. You can get from point A to point B on some question much faster than if you're sending them spreadsheets or sending them an email or sending
Are you
them.
talking about clients that you're serving to ask questions, or clients that you're trying to just get as clients, like prospects?
Yeah, both, honestly.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I think people are so overstimulated by all of the tech that's out there that I think this is a good time to zag when other people are zigging and try to reach out to people and be their friend. And like, the tech tools are not going away, obviously.
No, that's funny because I get what you mean. Where like people are always, oh my god, yeah, they're always like telling me about how this thing triggers this email to go out, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm sending email every Tuesday and Friday for 30 minutes, where I know I'm going to meet with this
Exactly.
ops team, and that's why me and finance are doing all this stuff in the background. So when we meet, we know what we got to talk about. We know what decisions we need to make. And no, so I like that idea because it almost seems novel. They're instead of sending an email. It's like, I love that. But man, no, that's really interesting. So it's cool how things are changing. But thinking forward towards 2026, so I got to be mindful. I know we're still in tax season, so I want to get you out of here.
Yeah.
But so thinking forward to 2026, what has you excited about the cannabis industry over the next 1 to 3 years? And also concerned, but let's finish on a high note. So what has you concerned about the cannabis industry over the next 1 to 3 years, and what has you excited?
On the concern side, I just want business owners to think about their cash. That's always my number one concern. Make sure that you keep on top of your cash. Excitement. It's exciting to see new markets come on and thrive, and I'm in the epicenter in Minnesota where the market is really about to take off. And it's exciting to see those people that have been dreaming about their products and that you've seen their logos in places actually see them in stores. It's thrilling, honestly. And it's exciting then that sparks conversations with other people that are interested in the industry. And so it is a very exciting time in Minnesota. And I'm excited to see what other states go through this journey as well. So as much as there are difficulties, like you said earlier, there's difficulties in every industry. It's an exciting time. It's only going to happen this one time. They're only going to have a new industry in Minnesota right now. So what could be better than that? Honestly, it's super exciting.
Bonus question, because I see it on my list here. As the cannabis industry is evolving, what role do you think CPAs will play in it? I know we touched on this earlier.
Yeah.
Like initially it was just like 280E, but now it's, you know, we're evolving into CAS. But I guess, how do you see as the cannabis industry evolves and becomes more sophisticated? How do you think our role will evolve?
I think having the CPA industry, like you said, involved and intertwined with the cannabis industry is extremely important because it helps give the cannabis industry a bigger air of legitimacy. Really helps legitimize these businesses that are legitimate. And to me, for one, it helps with the banks and all of that. It also helps to reduce the stigma. I'm always super excited to hear about people that have never tried cannabis and heard about what I do and then started trying, say, like cannabis beverages, which are a great introduction to the industry. And you can see in real time the destigmatization happening. You hear about my in-laws, they'll come by my house. And when I first started in this industry, a lot of my relatives were, okay, interesting choice, Mark. And now my mother-in-law will come knock on my door and ask, do you have any cannabis beverages in your refrigerator? I think having the legitimacy of the CPA profession intertwined with the cannabis industry and all of the different ancillary businesses that help the cannabis industry succeed it's hugely important, and it's an exciting time to be working in this space.
Awesome. No, that makes a lot of sense because it does. It's just there's so many stakeholders involved in this, whether it's banks, sources of capital, lenders, insurance providers. So I don't know, having your CPA or CFO talk to them, it just adds an air of legitimacy. They're used to talking to them. The auditors are the tax people, so it helps everything move forward. And man, yeah, we could talk about products and just, yeah, you're a young father in the cannabis industry. So it's like, even that's like a unique conversation about the social side of the industry, which I think that's what makes it interesting is there is like, as much as there's a business and a commercial aspect that we focus on every day, there's still this culture and social aspect, which makes the industry much more interesting. I'm sure a global construction company. Nobody cared about global construction.
Exactly.
People do. Awesome. Alrighty, Mark, you have a good day. Thanks again for your time, and we'll see each other soon. Be well.
Thank you, Raymond. Have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye-bye.